My name's Paul Kemp. I'm a Professor of Ecological Engineering at the Faculty of Engineering and Physical Sciences. I'm also the Director of the International Centre for Ecohydraulics Research and the EPSRC-funded Centre for Doctoral Training in Sustainable Infrastructure Systems. Our research really focuses on natural resource management, trying to make sustainable exploitation, particularly of fisheries, a more common practice. We tend to focus on quantifying the impacts of human anthropogenic activity on both freshwater and marine fisheries, and then consider ways by which we might develop methods and strategies and technologies to mitigate for those environmental impacts. Our research is intrinsically interdisciplinary. We work with social scientists, economists, as well as biologists and engineers and environmental scientists to solve these particular challenges. And it also has huge global reach. We have collaborations and partnerships with people that are developing large-scale dams in South America, particularly Brazil, and also Asia, China, and also in terms of marine fisheries, more recently in India. Our engagement with policymakers are through two key routes. Firstly, through our students. The EPSRC-funded Centre for Doctoral Training in Sustainable Infrastructure Systems has a remit to engage not only with the public and with the media, but also to have outreach with politicians and policymakers. So, for example, some of our students would have internships with the Royal Society, as in one particular case where they had a remit to work with developing relationships with policymakers, and also students being based with the Parliamentary Office for Science and Technology, or POST. On a more personal level, myself and staff engage with policymakers directly with the departments, either talking to the officials and the civil servants, usually DEFRA, but in the past also with the Department for International Development, as it was formerly known, DFID, and that related to our work that is going on overseas with ODA compliant countries. We also work closely with individual MPs and Secretaries of State for some of the key departments. We've been engaged in consultations, particularly in relation to the development of the Marine Fisheries Act, the most recent piece of legislation that has related to fisheries for nearly 50 years. And we've also been working closely with outreach through blogs and other social media campaigns, and directly through publishing in journals that are more policy oriented. So the current research that has had greatest policy implications and impact is that related to marine fisheries. So recently we've been working at assessing the impact of the double systemic shock of Brexit and the COVID-19 pandemic. And what we've seen is a decline in fishing activity in the number and tonnage of fish that have been landed at our ports. And we've been wondering if this has provided an opportunity to kickstart regeneration and recovery of overexploited stocks. And we've been communicating through consultations with government in relation to how we can potentially use this as a means to enable increased sustainability of fisheries management. Public policy at Southampton have been hugely influential and important to us in developing our relationships with policymakers. This has been through a wide range of activities and routes, including training with expertise provided from retired politicians on how we can better communicate with policymakers. It's also been making us aware of when there's opportunities to be involved in consultations. So we've been involved through our fisheries research with consultations through DEFRA on the Marine Fisheries Act, and this was all set up and established through public policy at Southampton. It's also enabled us to develop meetings where we've met with officials from DEFRA through the activities that have been very proactive from PPS. And in addition to that, we've been trained in how we can engage with various routes of media, including working with the press office at Southampton to ensure that we coordinate our publications with press releases with the view to that we'll better get our message out to the policymakers that we're wishing to influence. So my advice to any student or colleague that is interested in engaging further with policymakers and politicians, they feel that their research is of particular relevance and is topical at this point in time and something related to politics, my advice would be at first to contact public policy at Southampton, make them aware of who you are and what you're doing, and try and find out what advice and support they can give you. So if you're a student, one of the things you can do is actively engage in blogs and any social media outreach. That was often picked up by politicians. If you're a member of staff, please try and consider opportunities to engage with consultations where you can provide evidence to the departments that are conducting them. Consider ways by which you might engage with the press or even with your local MP, who is often very valuable in providing expertise and advice on the links and putting you in contact with the appropriate people. If you find a good MP that can support you in this, they're often very interested and often very supportive.